Excuse me, Saturday morning, April 26th. We welcome you to our discussion today, April 26, 2025. Excuse me. Let me begin by asking you if you have any questions. Comments about anything that we discussed or that you want clarity on. Or, matter of fact, is there anything that you have in mind that you would like to discuss? Okay. So, I suppose the question is, where are we beginning today? I had looked at some stuff and so had Ron. So I suppose the question is now, is it clear enough to you, Ron, to talk about it? What you saw in James or started in James on Monday night, right? You muted, Ron.
Yes, sir. Yes, it's clear enough.
Okay. Okay. Let's look at that. And if we get opportunity, we look at some other things that I saw there. So go ahead, Ron.
Okay. On Monday night we talked about James 5, and let me back up. We my search has been here lately, uh, looking at the fact of is trying to see who and where we are, and what I am, I guess, and what we need at that time, not just coming up with a lesson or not just coming up with something from current events, but where does this group stand and what we need. And one of the things I said to Pastor that's real with me is I don't have a problem. I love who I am as far as being uh, a male from a Kabbalah. Uh, I love that because that's what the Creator made me. And everything else that comes from that, I have tried to embrace. And one of the things that I shake off as much as I can is religion, mainly Christianity. Uh, when we talked about Jesus, I could see that. When we talked about God, I could see that. And when we went into the African slash Kabbalah history, I love that part of it because that opened the door for me. Uh, the one thing that I struggle with, and not struggle meaning I don't see it and want to become it, but I don't know what it means to be Elohim. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing or where I'm supposed to be in that, what actions that includes. And that part, I guess, is it has started my search. So that kind of went into what I was looking at in James on Monday evening. Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me interject something if I may.
Sure.
I made a note, and that note says, study the things that God did, then we will know what we are to do. Well,
Okay.
we've looked at everything with the exception of instructions in terms of personality traits of Elohim,
Okay.
and that will give us, I do believe, things that we should do. And that was something that I looked at also. But you in James 5, so please continue. I just want to interject that.
Yes, sir. Uh, what I saw in James 5 was the energy of the church and the wealthy is the same. The church was supposed to have an identity in this earth. And it did not. That identity has been corrupted, and it is shared by anyone who loves money, meaning the one percenters, if you will. So this energy here is being addressed in this group. So the gold and the silver being and I'm just gonna read through the first 5, 6 verses, right? And because there's something I saw in here. Uh, Come now, you rich, and weep and howl for your miseries which are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, and your garments have become moth eaten. Your gold and your silver have rusted, and their rust will be a witness against you, and will consume you and consume your flesh like fire. It is in the last days that you have stored up your treasure. The last days is not what we've always thought it to be. The last days is not as we've been taught to be, rather not necessarily thought it to be. It does not necessarily mean that the earth is going to end or you're going to die at a certain time. What it is saying is this is the period of enlightenment in your life. You have passed on the periods of enlightenment and turned to your own wicked ways. And these latter days, these last days are saying that your time is running out to see this. Your mind is going to be turned over into what you desire to be. If you want to lust after materialism, if you want to lust after money, then that's what you're going to become. You're going to stop receiving enlightenment. Uh, and then it goes on to say, behold, the pay of the laborers and the mowers of the who mowed the fields which has been withheld by you cries out against you, and the outcry of those who did the harvesting has reached the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath. You have lived luxury in the earth and led a life of wanton pleasure. That's the part that got me. That I skipped over Monday and I meant to come back was Lord of the Sabbath. Why did it say Lord of the Sabbath? It could have said anything here. Why does it say Sabbath? The two things that pulls all of this together. When it talks about the laborers and the mowers of the field, if you go back to Genesis, fields, there was a portion where God said, I have not sent rain because I don't have anybody to till the field. In other words, Pastor, got your hand up?
Yeah. How did you go into verse 4? Because the word hire, behold the hire of the laborers, that you withheld the money, you withheld
Yeah,
fraud, you have kept the money, their salary, you did not pay them.
yeah, that's what I want to get in, but I want to tie it
Okay,
into
okay,
all of the Sabbath. Uh,
okay.
I don't. What I see is when it goes back, he said, "I have not sent rain because I don't have anybody to till the field." In other words, earth being consciousness, I don't have anybody to bring enlightenment into the earth. I don't have anybody to break this down into bite-sized pieces for man to digest. I don't have anybody who has seeing the righteousness and tills the earth with the right seed for mankind to live on. So what this is saying, it is not saying that I have not paid anybody in the sense that I have not given away uh, money, paper money. It is saying that uh, you have worked, you ones of you who are loyal, to ones of you who are seeking truth, you have worked diligently to look for or looking for truth and trying to spread truth, and you're looking for a reward, but the reward you seek is not coming because the seed I have given you to plant is not real. It is not from God. It is not something that is going to bring forth life. So this thing that you have done for me, you've done all this laboring, and you keep looking for this reward to come. You keep looking for your wages, but the wages that you seek, the wages that you think should be coming, the wholesomeness, the truth, or the understanding and the knowledge of who you are, and the love and compassion, all these things that you are looking for are not coming to you. So you are doing all this stuff, and you're searching for something that is not coming, because the God that I introduce you to, the seed that I have given you, is not able to produce right fruit. So and I'm gonna let me put this part out there, Pastor, and you clean it up for me, because I know you see something. Uh, Again, I said Sabbath uh captures everything. Sabbath is greater than time. Uh, what do I mean by greater than time? If you go back and look at the scriptures, God created everything and he rested on the seventh day, on the Sabbath day. So if you think about what seven is, seven, it encapsulates everything. Everything is held in there. It talks about being full. You're resting because you're full. So everything you need, everything that you need to be a creator, is wrapped up in the Sabbath. So I am the Lord of the Sabbath. You are the Lord of the Sabbath. Everything that you need should be there, but you have corrupted this. You have made the Sabbath to mean what you want it to be. You have brought about a religion to change the entirety of the earth, and the earth is not or the holy place that I wanted it to be. The earth is turned into a gluttonous place that you have created, and you've made what is holy. You've made what was supposed to be real to people. You made it what you want it to be, and now the people are starving. They're looking for these wages. They're looking for something that is not coming, because it is not from a holy seed. So this is just kind of question, Pastor. I know you see something there, but this was kind of sticking out to me, because to me this is a message to us, for us to see where we are, what has been established, uh, and for most of all, to me, to know that all of this is documented for us, and we are the energy that brings life to it. And if we bring life to it, there's nothing that's insurmountable to us. There's nothing that we can't address that takes place in the earth, because everything that, no matter what is being done to the earth, we are a part of the Sabbath as well. We are the Lord of the Sabbath, and we have dominion over this. Although it is being corrupted, we will resurrect it and bring life to it. Questions or comments?
Ron, add a little bit more to that by saying you have withheld, or you have planted unholy seed that brings no truth, no justice, no balance, no harmony. All of the things that Maya talks about,
Yeah.
it's the opposite. You've brought the opposite of that. So even today, as you said, there is no truth, or the truth is perverted, or the truth is an alternate reality. No justice, no economic justice, no justice, no civil justice, no balance, no harmony. So what was planted, that whole unholy seed, as you said, has brought unholy fruit, if you will. And everybody is affected by that.
Barb, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. That's beautifully said. That's why it takes all of us. Love that. Thank you. That kind of sums it up. And add, again, just what I said, since Barb is explaining. There's nothing that we see that is bigger than we are. And that's why we are bringing life to this. These words have sat dormant for someone searching for truth to bring life to it. And that is who and what we do. So, on top of everything that we have said, please know that these words are being opened up to us for the very reason of bringing enlightenment into the earth and setting the course back straight the Creator intended it to be.
There is one thing that this unholy seed will bring.
Okay.
That's part of my act, and that's reciprocity. Because when you plant this seed, that's what you're going to reap, and that's what you were talking about. Your gold and your silver is not going to amount to anything because of your motive and your intent when you were planting these, all for your own selfish purposes.
Amen. Ashe, Rep. Ashe. Thank you. Beautifully said. But I just want to return to that because I saw Lord of the Sabbath Monday and I got looking at something else. I got carried away and forgot to come back to it. But apparently we weren't meant to talk about it then. But I think that is important.
I do see something in the Lord of the Sabbath. When I look at the Lord of the Sabbath, it says entered into the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath, right? The cries. What is the Lord of the Sabbath? First of all, Sabbath. Sabbath is a feminine word. And Sabbath, the word sabbatical, has its root in Sabbath, which means to cease doing something, to step away from everything that you have been doing, so that you are open to see it a different way. So what I'm saying is this: when it talks about seventh, the Creator rested. It's talking about you. It's talking about Elohim stepping away from everything that has been made. And when it says when it talks about the cries and stuff, it's talking about the mere men. It's talking about the material man who has received corrupt knowledge in the church, in the government schools, etc. All of this that has been received has corrupted not only man, but the whole consciousness of the earth. And when it comes into the year of the Lord of the Sabbath, what happens? You're reminded of what you have enjoyed or thought the pleasures that you have embraced, or at least the things that you thought were pleasurable, how you embrace them, how you shout in church, how you boast about what you have, how you treat your leadership like it is God itself, that created itself above everything else. All of these things that you have perceived to be the truth have brought pleasure to you, but it is a false pleasure that you have experienced, and the reason you saw it as pleasure is because that's what you've been taught. Now, where we are, when we look at the true nature of the Lord of the Sabbath, that word Lord is Adonai, and Adonai speaks to master, being the master of the Sabbath. So this is an attribute that we are to have as Elohim, mastering the Sabbath, meaning that we take the time, we enter a state of meditation. I'm trying to simplify it. We enter a state of open meditation, meaning that we are open to receive from the Holy One. And in doing so, we learn how to master the Sabbath, the period of rest where we are infused with the truth so that we can have a fresh start on the eighth day. Am I making sense so far? So when we talk about mastering the Sabbath, that's what we are doing on Friday. I'm sorry, on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We are learning how to master the Sabbath, and and mastering the Sabbath means that um, you have the power, you have the strength to overwhelm the lies that have been taken for truth. You have the opportunity to sow the seeds of truth into the earth, so the earth can reap a harvest of righteousness. However, when we are simply talking about the Sabbath and we are continuously receiving um, the lies from the church that presents itself as truth, that's when we come into a state of confusion. The other aspect of that is when we who have been in church all of our lives, um, we find it difficult to free ourselves from this sense of church religiosity. What is the purpose of mastering the Sabbath so that we can free people, so we can free the earth from the bondage that it is in? And the bondage of which I speak is far deeper than physical enslavement that our people experience. Is much more than that. When I talk about freeing the earth from bondage, I'm talking about the entire consciousness of the earth is in bondage now. When it talks about all of creation is groaning for us to get it right, it's talking about the consciousness of the earth needs to be purified, needs to be purged of all of the religiosity that kept everything in bondage. And that purge will not come from our Creator. I want you to hear me well. Our Creator will not purge the consciousness of the earth, because the Creator said it is your duty. You dominate it. It is up to us to purge the earth from what keeps it in bondage. So uh, we are the ones Elohim creates in the earth, and as Elohim creates in the earth, it is not something material that it creates. The Creator says, the Creator brought everything material into the earth. Now, the creators in the earth are to create spiritually, because consciousness is spirit, consciousness is energy. And when we talk about the pushback from that energy of the consciousness that's current in the earth, we begin to struggle with it. Why and how? What do we mean by pushback? It is like you having been set in your ways, and the ways that you have are ways that's not beneficial to humanity. And and someone comes to you uh, to wrestle with you, and whoever wins, that's who wins the battle. So what I'm saying is that when you set in your ways, you fight back. And when you begin to fight back, what happens? Excuse me, people who fight you will say things to you that are mean and hurtful. Am I right? Yeah, James, you're right. They will say hurtful things to you. So when we talk about this energy that's set in its way because it's been manipulated so long, that energy is accustomed to doing what it does and does not want to give it up, because it does not know any other way. It cannot perceive any other way. of functioning. So it does hurtful things to us. Children get sick, wife gets sick, car accident, job losses, all these things that we see transpiring now in terms of what's happening to humanity um, is really pushback. And that pushback is simply uh, that energy seeking to remain in the space that it is in and bringing about what it has been bringing for thousands of years. Does that make sense? So,
You know,
thank you. This when we master the Sabbath, this energy is what we are transforming. This is what we are righteousness is what we are creating into earth. Is spiritual, and the way we bring it into existence is by allowing it to exist in us, meaning that allow the ancestors to guide us, allow truth to be our guide. Um, so that and this energy that I'm speaking of that's quote unquote pushing back is also the religious energy. That's why the battles are there. When Ron said that I know who I am, when we dealt with that the non-existence of Jesus, my words not his, but same thought. It was easy. It was easy for him. It's okay. I could get that. But when it comes to Elohim, what are we supposed to be doing? Well, I do believe that the reason that we are struggling with what are we supposed to be doing, one of the reasons is that we are not fully purged of religion. The other reason is that I do another reason rather is that we don't know how to believe that we are Elohim in terms of action. Why? Because the action of the church is always physical. That's religion. Religion is physical. You've got to be baptized in water. When deliverance comes through being baptized with the Spirit. What? And go ahead, Ron.
well, I want you to tie this part in because I think it's saying what you just described, starting with the purging. Look, verse 7 says, therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Then it gives this example. It says, the farmer waits for the precious product of the soil, being patient about it until it gets the early and the late rains. You too be patient, strengthen your heart, for the coming of the Lord is near. I think that speaks to being Elohim. You're on the right track. You see the distinction between religion and what is right, and you have the heart and you have the desire to make those changes, going back to how Barb summed it up, you are the one that sees this and are standing up for what is righteous and bringing about the principles of Mayah. So the coming of the Lord is your patience and your desire for this to come true, truth into earth, and you are the Lord that is coming. When you recognize who you are, when you stay the course that you're on, when you recognize who you are, and you will see the strength of what you're doing, and you will see that you are indeed walking in the right direction. For the coming of the Lord is near. In other words, you're on the right path. You're close to what you're trying to accomplish, and you may not see it and fully understand it now, but you walk in righteousness and you keep walking, letting the energy, the motivation be to do what is right for mankind. It's not so much that we're off course or we should be out in the streets doing something, or even, as you say, being churchy and the actionable part. The action is spiritual, and keep going the course that you're going. Does that tie in to what you were saying?
It does. Um, that the word brethren, when it says, let me back up to be patient, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't faint, don't lose heart. Then it says, when it says brethren, it speaks also to a common ancestry,
Hmm.
a common people who are of the same nation. So it's saying, don't faint. Um, you who are of the same ancestry. Now, when it talks about the coming of the Lord, that word coming could also be translated as present, meaning that don't faint. You are of a common ancestry and you are always in the presence of Adonai. You're always in the presence of the Lord. Meaning, or it also means that the presence, the Adonai is present with you. You have the power, you have the intestinal fortitude to persevere so that you can become a master, so that you can recognize that you are the master of Sabbath, of the Sabbath. You are the one who shaped the Sabbath. You're the one who makes the understanding of the Sabbath more palatable. You are the one who brings the seed from the darkness of the earth to the light of the sun. Uh, that's who you are. And it said, for example, look at what happened with the farmer. Look at what happened. The farmer plants the seed and wait for the fruit of the seed to bring his head out of the earth or to grow from that dark place into the light. If this is an example, then what it's saying is that the seed is in you. Close your eyes so you can see. The seed is in you. Allow the seed to grow. Cultivate it. You cultivate it by purging of religion. You cultivate it by refusing to vacillate in reference to what you believe, what you know the truth to be. When we say that I try to do this or I want to do this, then that's a form of denial of being who you are. You don't have to want to be who you are. You don't have to try to be who you are. You are who you are. Does that make sense? You are who you are. Hold on to that. When we look at uh, um, the Sabbath, and I'm sorry, when we look at Elohim in this regard, once we become the Lord, the one who shapes the Sabbath, um, it's simply talking about you are the ones who shape the consciousness of the earth. Because Sabbath, when it says that on the Sabbath he ceased to work, right? He rested, right?
Right.
Meaning that the whole consciousness of the earth had been brought into existence. And that consciousness of the earth is the substance from which you create in the earth. And you are the master of this Sabbath. You are the master of this substance. You are the master of this energy of consciousness that's in the earth. And that is your tool of creating. And stop looking for a physical government to change. Stop searching for the rising of a foundational system of government that embraces the needs and desires of humanity. Stop looking for righteousness to manifest through a governmental agency. It only manifests through you. You are the government. You are the government, and your bill of I'm sorry, your constitution is Mayat. The principles of Mayat is what you are made of and what you abide by. This is what you're governed by. You are not governed by a constitution of any country. You're governed by Mayat. Am I making sense? You are governed by Mayat. And when you realize that you're governed by Mayat, you are the one who brings the truth out of the darkness. You are it. And when you stop looking at your physical body and began to see that you are not that physical body. You began to see that you are divine. You are a divine entity in this earth. You are the divinity of the earth, and nothing can change that. The only one who can stop you from believing that is you. When you come to that realization, you act like it, meaning that if you are a school teacher, you teach, you act like a teacher. If you are a mechanic, you act like a mechanic. You work on that car. You or that or whatever machine that you are fixing or working on. You are the master of that. And you are the master of the Sabbath. So you look at the Sabbath, and what do you see? You see that the Sabbath has been perverted. You see that the consciousness of the earth has been perverted because they're one and the same. And that perversion is what you are to purge the earth of. But you cannot do it if you don't purge yourself. And what I'm saying in essence is this: when you begin to purge yourself, that is when you begin to see the bursting forth of the light that you are. When you look at the scripture in Psalm 1 in the 8th Psalm, I think is verse 3 or 4, I can't remember which verse, but it talks about the creation of the moon and the stars. And when you look at moon, it's talking about a moon. And when you look at stars, it's talking about multiple divinities. That's what it speaks to, a multiplicity of divinities, meaning that they are no different than what was said to Abraham about you will not be able to count your offspring. They will be a greater number than the stars are. That's what it's speaking to. It's speaking to spiritual offspring. It's speaking to spiritual ancestry. That's what it is talking about. And the idea of moon is not talking about the physical moon in the earth. It's talking about the embracing, the recognition, the respect for femininity. Because out of that femininity comes everything. And that is why Shabbat is a feminine word, because it encapsulates everything in the earth, both material as well as spiritual. And when you go on sabbatical, what happens is you become a searcher for self, and you begin to look inside of yourself, and you begin to open yourself so the ancestors can feed you, so the Creator can guide you. This is what Shabbat is all about. And then when we talk about, well, I spent some time studying, or I spent some time in meditation, and then you come back and you have a fresh look at things, and you have a fresh understanding, you have entered the 8th day. And right now we are standing on the precipice of the 8th day. Some of us can embrace that 8th day and begin to bask in it, but we refuse to. Why? Because it is the will of Elohim that all be saved, that all be delivered, that everyone be brought to this understanding of transitioning from this Shabbat into the 8th day by virtue of living the life that you are. Am I making sense? Come on, guys, help me here. Am I making sense? I was
Yes.
talking with Kathy the other day, and she brought out a point, and one of the points that she brought up was our beliefs about deliverance, about salvation, about being saved is still religious. And I want to ask you, Kathy, if you I don't want to really put you on the spot, but if you're not comfortable, just let me know. Talking about that for a moment, because I want to open that up some.
Sorry.
Grand Rising, everyone.
Good
Go ahead,
morning.
Audrey.
Hey, Kathy, hold on a second.
Sorry, Kathy. I just want to interject something and I'll let you collect your thoughts.
Thank you.
Um, what I'm hearing you say, Pastor, is that I personally have to come to a point where I am Lord of the Sabbath. Sabbath meaning rest, rejuvenation, wholeness, connection, all of that. And when I personally realize that I am Lord of the Sabbath and all that entails, then I can then be, for lack of a better word, I can then be Lord of the Sabbath for the earth, for other people, but I have to do it for myself first. Is that right?
Yeah, if you can't master yourself, you cannot master Sabbath, the Sabbath.
Okay.
Yes. You
Okay.
mastering
And
you-
then once I am able to do that, and then I am in concert with others who are able to do that, then we can become the scapegoat without that being who we are. We just use that as a tool um, to promote righteousness. Yes?
we are already the scapegoat.
Right.
We have not gone into the wilderness,
Mm-hmm.
and we are the scapegoat. And the Sabbath, we are the Sabbath. When we recognize that, and when we recognize that, we still. Hold on a second, please. When we recognize that, we still don't go into the eighth day. Why? Because everyone we have been given opportunity to God. Everyone that we bring opportunity to God. We want to bring them with us. You don't go it alone. Does that make sense? When we cross this bridge, we want you to cross with us.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. So you are on point, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, can I say something right quick? You guys brought up the scapegoat, and again, wilderness is a place of contemplation, but I see it a little differently from how we've been studying it. You contemplate, it means to speak or to declare or to converse or make a command or speak with authority. So can it be that you enter the wilderness not understanding and you question who you are and the speech is to you and you move to the conversing that you do, you're conversing with the authority that is in you to find and see yourself until you reach a point where your voice changes. You are no longer speaking as someone who, and this is all internal. You're no longer speaking to somebody that doesn't have authority or who does not have, who's very submissive, I guess. But you come to understand and realize who you are, and you are the voice of the Creator, and you speak and make those commands. But that has to start internally, and so it is a conversation that starts and ends with you that grows from a place of contemplation to a place of realizing who you are.
What I think I heard you say, Ron, is this. You are the scapegoat already in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
But the contemplation or the acceptance of your purpose for being in the wilderness You have not realized it yet. You've not totally embraced it.
And being in the wilderness is a tool for becoming Lord of the Sabbath?
Being in the wilderness, yeah, is a tool that makes you aware that you're Lord of the Sabbath.
Okay.
Yeah, because we are not becoming anything other than aware of who we are. So it, and I want you to help me with this as well. We are at a place now where it is not so much as talking about what's inside of us. It's not internal, it's spiritual.
Yeah.
Because it's in the now. So we're not looking inside. We're becoming aware of totality because inside to me speaks about this body and spirit being in this body when it's not, the body's in the spirit because the spirit is more than this body. Does that make sense? So now I want to get through Kathy with this idea of deliverance because we can remain in the wilderness and we can die in the wilderness and never become aware to the extent that we function that way. We have to be delivered from what had us in bondage before we get to that wilderness. Kathy, would you go, please? I'm sorry.
I
Would you
will.
please? Thank you.
Yeah, this kind of putting me on the spot a little bit, but Grand Rising family, because based on the lesson that we had last week, I was trying to just understand when we talked about us being gods and just understanding why it has been so hard for us to embrace that, and we all are struggling with this. And I'm not just saying some are struggling more than others, but we're all struggling. And so I was asking Pastor and just looking at it. And when I think of the wilderness, I remember having taught many, many years ago that the wilderness to me is a place, and not to me, but the way it was shown to me, is a place of higher self-awareness. So when you're in that wilderness place, it is the opportunity for you to reflect and to realize and recognize who you are. So we have said and established that the wilderness is never a bad place to be. There was a time when we may have thought that, but it really isn't. And on the heels of what was just said this morning, moving into my questions that I was asking Pastor, as I listened and we talked about the African being God, and that the Bible was written for the African, for us to recover our identity as to who we are. And I listened to us trying to embrace that and sitting with it and thinking about it and understanding it. My questions to Pastor arose that we have taught so many times about going back to the beginning. And what came to me as I'm looking at this thing and trying to lay it out and understand it for myself, how was it from the beginning when we look at salvation, so to speak? And I'm using these terms based on the religion that we've been given. Those who told us we were not gods told us that we had to be like them and that there was a path called salvation that we would have to go to attain or to get to a level of being, I'm using words loosely when I say level, of understanding, to become gods or to become like them. So therefore, when we're in this wilderness place of understanding, we are going back to the beginning in Kabbalah. How was it from the beginning? As we ruled as who we are, God, there was no distinction and separation of a path of salvation because you didn't need it, because everything was in balance. And so this recovery through the scripture of showing us who we are is taking the African back to a place of beginning. And what is tripping us up in our understanding of what it means to be God, in my opinion, let me speak slowly of myself. What was tripping me up was this thing called the path of salvation. And now we've been told that this path is for everyone, and that through this path of salvation, everyone can be made into a God. And that's not true. As I'm looking at it now, these are the questions I was asking Pastor. So I'm laying it out there from the way I understood it when I sat with it for a while. And so the thing that is making it very hard for us to embrace that the scripture is written for us to find our way back to uncovering who we are that was covered over this wilderness experience that we're having, It's given us this opportunity to go back to a Kabbalah as it was from the beginning, as the African understood that I am God. And there was no need to make multiple gods in the sense of every man becomes a God who can go on this path of salvation. Now he has the right to be a God too. And my question to Pastor is, was that not? It was not that way in the beginning, correct? The African was God, things was in balance, and there was no degree of, or no pathway needed for salvation because things were in balance as it was supposed to be. And I think the thing that has really bothered me when we say the African is the one that the scripture is written for, the African is the one who goes on the pathway and the journey of discovering that he is God. That has been because religion has taught me that I have to do this thing called salvation to bring all on board, to make everybody a God who seeks to be a God. And I think there, to me, therein lies the confusion, because it really was not that way from the beginning. And there's a part, a modicum of me on the inside of me that's still wrestling with this thing called salvation from the standpoint of religion, that is telling me I have to make every man, give every man an opportunity to be a God. So my question when I spoke to Pastor was, is that not incorrect? Every man did not have the need to be God when things were right from the beginning the way they were. And as we were enslaved and brought here, I see it as our journey now to rediscover who we are as God and bring balance to everything, with everyone else living in peace and harmony and not necessarily need to be, quote unquote, God. And so those are my thoughts, those are my questions, and that's just the way I've been sitting with it and let it unfold unfold unto me, and trying to just understand the disconnect and understanding. And I think the conversation about the wilderness, the scapegoat, all of these are very much in tune to what it means to be on the pathway of discovering who we are, rediscovering our identity, so that we can take our rightful place. And that's why when Pastor referenced that you are gods, but you will die as mere men, that resonated with me when he said that last week. What causes me to die as a mere man? The thing that I'm seeing is the fact that I'm still caught up on salvation, and I'm trying to save the world. And that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be creating a like-minded people who understand and who recognize that we are God, and who lives in harmony and peace with that, with love, and creating a like-minded people who come from a place of loving kindness, understanding, fairness, all of these things that we are not seeing, that's not being shown to us right now. All these things that are not being played out from day to day, and what we're seeing from those who are not human. So I feel like we embrace being human, and we figured out that human is that element that makes us, that enables us to be able to be loving kindness and all those other things. But when we get to the being God, gods do what? Create what? Create like-minded beings. That doesn't mean they have to be gods. They have to be like-minded beings. And I'm saying all of this because these are the thoughts and the way I've been questioning it and approaching it. And I am very much open to any other thoughts or even opposing thoughts, but this is how I'm approaching it from right now. And when I look back at what Pastor said last week, it makes it more palatable for me to understand who I am if I move salvation that was given to me in the form of religion out of the way, and look at this through a whole new set of eyes, that if I understand who I am and that my role as human is to be loving kindness, balance, and everything that's good and perfect in the earth, but my role as God is to create a like-minded people like me, but they don't have to necessarily be God. And so that's just the way I've been approaching it. And so those are just my thoughts, and I'm done. Thank you for letting me share.
Now, thank you for sharing. An addendum to that before I talk about it is we have to be purged of our concept of salvation or deliverance. In Christianity, we were taught that accepting Jesus is what delivers us. And I don't think that we have dealt with spiritual deliverance to the extent that we are able not only to embrace it, but to articulate it, what it means. Um, it- we have been taught that deliverance entails baptism, becoming a member of a church, and now you're going to heaven to hang out with Jesus. That purging must take place because none of that is true. And the longer we try to hold on to it consciously or unconsciously, the longer it's going to take us to become aware of the totality of our essence when it comes to knowing that we are Elohim. Now, when I talk about Elohim versus Adonai or Lord, um, that is Lord is a aspect of being Elohim. Um, uh, the aspect of being Elohim says that we master the Sabbath, that we're the Lord of the Sabbath. What Kathy was talking about in regards to everyone not being God, everyone in Kemet were not priests. There were those who were brought into the priesthood, but the ones in Kemet, everyone in Kemet, live their lives being guided by ancestral instruction as well as Mayat. And that is what brought the harmony and peace to the community. And that harmony and peace continued until 55,000 years ago when other people were brought into the earth from the womb of Cabelon. And that is when we begun to see the conflict in the earth. Now, we had lived for millions of years in harmony and peace, and that's the harmony and peace that we were supposed to bring to our offspring, those who came from the womb of femininity in Cabelon. I was speaking with a European male yesterday. We talked for quite a while. And one of the things that I shared with him, and based upon his questioning, is that the African is a divine being in the earth, is the divine being in the earth. And if it were not true, then we would not have been able to bring into existence all the other groups of people in the earth, as well as this consciousness that we are in the process of bringing to us, transposing rather, so it can be a state of righteousness as well. Where the Creator allow all of these things to be, so that we could act in actuality, function in the earth as Elohim, not by inventing stuff, but by creating a new mindset, a new energy in the consciousness of the earth for the benefit of those who are not melanated. Regardless of what we think, we're going to have to deal with some hard truths. And when I was talking to him, I told him the hard truth of the matter is this. You are not melanated. You are not the melanated African. You're not melanated. You have melacite in you. And that melacite is there, and it gives opportunity for your thoughts to change. You were reared in a conservative family. You were reared in a racist environment. You made a decision, and the decision you made was to search for something other than what that racist society was teaching you. And in searching for that something other than that, what you have encountered now is a greater understanding of the role of the African plays in the earth in terms of divinity. The African is divine for the purpose of balancing the earth. And and the spiritual nature of melanin is what gives you, or influences rather, all of your emotions. And that is the reason the African is so forgiving. That is the reason the African seeks to deliver everyone from a bed of hatred. And that's why the African desires and says that all of us are of one people and we should live as one people. But they're saying it from a religious point of view, as opposed to understanding that it is a spiritual reality. And during the course of that, this person, he said to me, I can't articulate what you just said, but it resonates deeply with me. This man embraced the reality that that the African is divine with a mission of bringing balance to the earth, with a mission of changing, of transposing the European mindset, that energy for the benefit of humanity. And then I said to him that because you have chosen this pathway, you have the opportunity to express empathy, because your mindset is changing based upon what's being infused in you by melanated people. And he embraced that. And this is what he said to me. He said to me, what I'm hearing is that what the current administration represents is the European mindset. The European does not have to live in that mindset. The European emotions can be altered for righteousness if the European adheres to the teachings of the melanated people, the African. My words, not his, but that was the gist of what he was saying. And I said to him, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the hard truth of the matter is this. What I gathered from what we talked about last week is that some of us felt like everybody had to be a god, as Kathy said. You cannot be a divine entity in the earth without being melanated. And Caucasian Europeans know that. And that is the reason that the European mindset seeks to fight everything that speaks to the browning of America. It is not the browning of America in the sense that just in a physical sense. This is a spiritual melanated mindset that we have that makes our emotions different than anyone's emotions on the earth. It is the mindset of the African that does that. It is the mindset of the African that brought civilization to those who would accept it. Some did and some didn't. Obviously, the European didn't. And one of the other things I said to this person was, is it not a shame that the only thing that a European mindset has brought to the earth is destruction, whether it be weaponry or whether it be putting poison in food to make money? And of course, he was quiet for a moment, but then, of course, he saw the value of what I was saying. So I'm saying to you, yes, there are hard things that we have to say, and there are hard truths, rather, that we have to sow into this consciousness of the earth. And if we don't sow these truths into the consciousness of the earth, then we will not reap the righteousness that we desire. I want us to understand this is not about hatred. This is not about race. I did not create race. God did not create race. No one created race except the European. There was no such thing as race. So you can't call me well, you can't call me racist, but it doesn't make it true. Because I did not bring it into existence. I don't have the authority to be a racist because I don't have a European mindset in that regard. Now, the reason the European made Jesus white is because of a subliminal effect that if Jesus is God and Jesus is human, then the subliminal mindset tells the African that every time you see a European, that is your God. I am saying to you that the European is not God. The European will not be God, but the European can live according to the principles of Mayat. The European can live by divine principles. We have been so indoctrinated that everybody, not everybody, I'm sorry about that, not everybody. We've been so indoctrinated that until we believe that if white people cannot be included, it cannot be true. Nobody says that about the Japanese or the Chinese or Native Americans. We only believe that the superiority of white people has to be recognized when we talk about the divinity of our being. And I'm saying to you, the superiority and the European mindset, rather, has taught that it is superior. And we have been indoctrinated with that. It is not superior. The African mindset is not superior to the European, but it has a superior mindset than does the European because it is a mindset of harmony and peace. The African mindset does not embrace Christianity. It does not embrace Islam. It does not embrace Judaism. And this is one of the other things I said to this man. And it was this. The religion, every major religion on this earth is violent. And it's been sustained through violence. Islam, Christianity, and as well as Judaism. And he had no choice but to agree because that's the history of it. It is violent. And the whole concept of these religions were brought into existence from a European mindset for the purpose of manipulation, and the offspring of the European and the Asian is what we call Arabs, and they are controlled by Islam, just like we have been controlled by Christianity. Both of those religions are violent as well, and you can see the violence of Judaism playing out every single day in the news. So when we talk about being purged, the purging must take place with an understanding of who you are. You cannot say, I am Elohim, but. You cannot say, I am divine, but. You can desire to bring that mindset into a place of divinity, but it's not going to work. It's not going to happen because it does not desire to be anything than what it is. When the energy is transformed into an energy of peace and love and kindness, then the choice that those with the European mindset make will determine whether or not they're going to live in isolation in terms of their mindset, or whether they are going to embrace the mindset of a Kabbalah and live in harmony with all of humanity without this social construct called race being a dominant controlling factor in it. Is that the gist of what you were asking me, Kathy?
Yes.
Say again?
I said yes.
Okay, thank you. If I said earlier that the earth received the seeds of truth, earth consciousness. So if the Creator does not go sow the seed of truth, we are the ones who must sow those seeds of truth. And we'll see that when we look at the 8th Psalm at some point, that we are the one who sowed the seeds of truth. It doesn't matter how much truth you have if you're not going to do anything with it. It doesn't. It doesn't matter how much truth you purport to understand if you're not going to live it. It does not matter how much truth you have if you seek to believe some truth, but not other truth. Truth is truth. And we, at the onset, became scapegoats when we said not on our watch in terms of mankind disappearing. We also made a commitment at that point that regardless of what it takes, we're going to get it done. And just like we had to go through, and some of us more pain than others, in understanding that Jesus never existed as a human in this earth, that the principle of deliverance is what was made into this man called Jesus. And that principle of deliverance had its genesis in Babylon. So we have to make up our minds as to who we're going to be. And we have to make up our minds as to what we're going to embrace. This is the only person of European descent with having a European mindset that has ever embraced the reality of the African being divine, has ever that I'm talking about ones that I've talked to, embrace the reality of not only of the divinity of the African, but also that the European mindset has to be submissive to the mindset of divinity if we are going to not curb, but bring it in to this racist environment that we live in that produces a continuation of violence, whether it be with a gun or whether it be through starvation. When you tell me that well, let me put it this way. One of the governmental officials in Israel said that he told the generals to bomb all of the spaces that were designated for the Palestinians to receive food. Decimate the hospitals, decimate everything that they could use to sustain themselves, decimated for the purpose of bringing chaos so they would turn against Hamas. You are admitting that you purposely are committing genocide. And the only reason that no one is dealing with it is because you're a white man. You are European. That is what we have to contend with. There is no justice in that European mindset. In that European mindset, there is no empathy. If it were empathy in the European mindset, then our people would not be, Social Security would not be threatened. Medicaid would not be threatened. So we are in the throes of change. The reason the world is still messed up is because of us. It will not change until we change. We are the stumbling block that is in the way of the manifestation of peace and harmony, because we have to be settled with it before it will manifest in the earth. Because we've heard the voice crying in the wilderness. We have become the man in the gap, standing in the gap between that European mindset and the mindset of Babylon. We are that. We are feeling that void. And when we embrace that wholeheartedly, then we will be able to see the manifestation of harmony. And I'm saying to all of you that I've said this to those who I've been with a long time, that this journey that I am currently on, that we are currently on, if I have to travel it alone, I will travel it alone. The question is, are you committed to traveling it alone if you have to? What are you committed to doing in order to make sure you stay on this journey? My commitment to my Creator has been, if I teach anything wrong, please take me out of this earth. I don't deserve to live in this body anymore. My commitment to the Creator is, regardless of what I have to go through, do not lift this mantle from me. I will cry. I will experience pain. I will tell you that I want to quit. I will tell you that I can't do this anymore. But ignore that. Do not lift this mantle from me. I am not a mortal man. I am divine. I am God. I am not a mortal man. When I start talking about I want to quit, it's because of the material burden. It's because of the mindset of the European that weighs on me and brings pain to me, and because of what's happening. The Creator has said, I'm sorry, I've said to the Creator all of these things, and I hold to them wholeheartedly. And when I talk about the eighth Psalm, you're going to see something there. You're going to see that when you are Elohim, when you are the Lord of the Sabbath, you're going to see that you can't seek vengeance and be that. Neither can you have hatred in your heart and be be who you were created to be. All of these things are written, and they are written for a purpose, and the purpose for them is understanding. And we are being able to glean the truth from the manipulation that has been done to the writings. And I hold dear to the holy writings. I hold dear, when I say hold dear, I'm talking about set aside from everything else. I hold dear to this journey. And right now, if it took my life being snuffed out in order for us to continue this journey, then I am prepared to lay down my life to do what we do. That's my commitment. And I don't want you to voice your commitment unless you choose to. But you ask yourself, what is the depth of your commitment? And reiterate that with yourself continuously. And every time you vacillate, or every time that something comes to mind that you're uncomfortable with, when it's the truth, then you remind yourself who you are. You remind yourself of the mission that you're on. And that mission is peace and harmony. It is not about the destruction of anything or anyone. It is simply about the transformation of the energy that has been appropriated for the express purpose of bringing harm to the earth and dominating the consciousness of the earth. Questions or comments? I'm done. Um, Let me say something else, since since you are processing what's been said.
Well, let me ask this though. A few minutes ago, you talked about nothing is going to change, because we talked several weeks ago. We talked about this wasn't going to last long. So when you say nothing is going to change, as we've beautiful lesson today, by the way, and I hope we're a little clearer on and more comfortable with understanding the phrase "I say the ye are gods." Um, but when you say nothing is going to change, you're not talking about all the people of a cable line. You're talking about the people on this phone, right? Understanding who they are and being comfortable with who you are, and uh, walking in that. And as Audrey pointed out, understanding first to you and then what it means in the whole. Uh,
I'm not even talking about all the people on the phone, right? On Zoom, in this setting, because all of them are not going to it. I'm not talking about, I am talking about the ones, especially those who have who made this commitment way back in 2011.
Okay.
Primarily the teachers. That's who. Yes, there will be others who we are teaching will walk into the eighth day, will embrace what they who they know that they are. Yes, they will. When I begin to talk about Jehovah, you see some more things here, because Lord is simply an attribute. Adonai is an attribute. Jehovah is more than an attribute. You can say Jehovah or Yahweh, both of them are the same. That is more than an attribute. If it were not for the existing principle of Yahweh, we would not be divine, because Yahweh is the self-existing one. Yahweh is the existence of everything that is. Yahweh is the create that brought everything into being, even though it was not brought into being. It created, but it was not created. So when we look at it from that perspective, that's the source of our strength and our energy. That's the source of our being. And Yahweh is not going to do anything in this earth that we don't do, because it is being done through us. We are Yahweh in the earth. We are, because we are in these physical bodies. This is an experience. This is an opportunity to transform energy, to bring deliverance to the entire earth. Does that make sense, Ron?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Now, let me say this, and I'm done. There have always been those who have been with us and walked away. I don't doubt that there would be those who walk away. That's fine. It doesn't take everyone to embrace what we're talking about, but it does take those who are committed to it. You asked the question, Ron, that I didn't address, and it just came back to me.
Okay.
The question about this lasting for a short period of time.
Yes.
This is what I am saying to you. The words that we speak are divine. And I am saying to you that the commitment will be forged in a different way than what it has been in the past. And the experience I know that I'm having at this moment will be the experience of commitment for everybody. We will share this experience. And this is going to happen before June. When I made that declaration, I did not make it based upon calculations. Neither did I make that declaration based upon my thoughts. That came to me from the ancestors. And I'm saying to you that this commitment, this transformation for us will be done before that period comes upon us. And this is the main thing I want you to get from this. I'm telling you this in such a manner that you can date it. This is to be. This shall end. the seeds or the fruit on the tree of destruction are rotting as we speak. And and that fruit will fall to the ground, and it will be the fertilizer for truth. Because when it falls to the ground, it will be transformed into righteousness, and it will be the seeds for truth. Does that make sense? Do you understand the metaphor?
I do. Thank you.
With that, I say to you, well, Ron, are you finished with Jane?
I think so, unless there are questions.
Okay. The reason I ask you that is because I want to look at that 8th Psalm as soon as possible.
Okay.
The reason I want to look at this 8th Psalm as soon as possible is because we don't understand what we are to do as Elohim, as divine beings. The doing will not be seen with eyes. The doing is spiritual, and it will be a spiritual experience. And I do believe that this 8th Psalm, coupled with the 82nd Psalm that we dealt with last week, as well as the 5th chapter of James, is giving us insight into the responsibilities, the spiritual responsibilities of Elohim that occupies this body. Yes.
Can I say something? I want to go back to what you said. In the past, you will say things to us, and we kind of, at least I speak for me, kind of sit back and say, okay, I accept that. I see it and I accept it and wait for it to happen. What you said now kind of hit a word, hit a vibration with me. I feel this. So since I understand Ashe, I say Ashe to what you said about June. I say Ashe to what you said about what the discussion we had about being Elohim. I say Ashe to what we said about the Sabbath, being Lord of the Sabbath. I say Ashe about religion and creation and the seventh day, because that is not a thing that you stand alone with. It is a thing that we spoke in truth, and I stand united with it. So I think it's important to look at where we are, the growth that we are, and the direction of this energy is moving in, and move as one.
Thank you. Questions or comments before we part until tomorrow? Thank you for your input and your presence. And I look forward to continuing our discussion tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your day. And never forget who you are, and never take it for granted.
Much love. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.